There's a clock running above your desk right now, and it's not the one the boss put on the wall. It runs while you're stuck on the M1 with your indicator on, going nowhere. It runs during the meeting that should have been a Slack message. It runs while you're queued at the servo, tapping your card for petrol you didn't want to buy. That clock isn't counting hours, it's counting trades. Every hour you hand over at that desk gets swapped for a number that lands in your account on payday. And for most Australians, that trade only runs one way. The hour's gone. It doesn't come back. But here's the part almost nobody sits you down and explains properly. That exchange rate isn't locked in forever. There's an exact figure, a coordinate, and once your money crosses it, the trade stops being permanent. The clock keeps ticking, but it stops billing you. That figure lives inside a structure the ATO is, by law, only allowed to take a fraction of, or in the right conditions, none at all. Today, we're finding exactly where that line sits for you, using real 2026 numbers. Most people hear the word superannuation and picture a slow-moving lump of money they're not allowed to look at until they're old and grey. That's the most expensive misunderstanding going around. Super isn't just a retirement account. Once you understand how it's actually built, it's a fortress with a very specific gate. And on the other side of that gate, the tax office's hands are tied. Here's the mechanic almost nobody explains properly. While you're working, your employer is required to pay 12% of your ordinary earnings into your super fund. That's the rate as of the 2025 to 26 financial year, the final step of a decade-long climb. Inside that fund, your growth is taxed at a flat 15%, well under almost anyone's normal income tax rate. That's stage one. But there's a second gate. The day you turn 60 and start drawing an income stream from your fund, something changes completely. Not taxed less, not taxed later. Zero tax. On the earnings, on the withdrawals, forever. The ATO isn't patient anymore, so it's simply locked out. Quick one before we keep going. Drop your current age and the age you'd love to stop working in the comments. I'll reply to a few and tell you roughly how far off your number actually is. To understand what happens next, stop thinking savings account and start thinking rocket ship. Every rocket fights the same enemy, gravity, a constant pull downward whether the engines are firing or not. Your gravity is your cost of living, rent or the mortgage, the Woolies shop, private health cover, the energy bill, the HECS repayment quietly chewing into your payslip. That force never clocks off. And for most people, the only way to fight it is by burning fuel manually. Trading another hour of work for another hour of thrust just to hold your altitude. That's not flying, that's hovering. And hovering is exhausting because the second you stop, you drop. Your investments, inside and outside super, are a different kind of fuel. They don't burn out, they compound, and there's a precise, calculable point where the thrust your money generates on its own finally outpaces the gravity of your expenses. That's escape velocity. That's the moment you leave the atmosphere of have to. So where exactly does that line sit? The benchmark used across the financial independence world is the 4% rule. A properly diversified portfolio can historically sustain a withdrawal of around 4% of its value a year, adjusted for inflation, without running dry over a 30-year stretch. Flip it around and you get your number. Annual expenses multiplied by 25. Let's make it real. Say you need $50,000 a year to live the life you actually want. $50,000 times 25 is $1.25 million. That's your coordinate. Write it down. Now here's where it gets interesting because $1.25 million isn't the same $1.25 million depending on which account it's sitting in. Picture two Australians, both drawing an income in retirement. The first pulls $70,000 from a normal taxable income stream. Under the 2026 to 27 tax brackets, nothing on the first $18,200, 15% up to $45,000, 30% from there, plus the 2% Medicare levy, they're left with a bit under $57,000 in hand. The second draws $50,000 from a super account-based pension past the age of 60. They keep every single dollar, all 50 grand. On paper, person one still looks ahead. $57,000 beats $50,000, but that $70,000 shows up on a tax return. It can push someone over the $105,000 Medicare levy surcharge threshold if it stacks with other income. It factors into Div 293 assessments. For higher earners, it counts toward income tests for family payments and the childcare subsidy. Tax-free super income does none of that. It's invisible to the system. Once you account for what visible income quietly costs elsewhere, that gap closes fast. Sometimes it flips entirely. Picture your life as an hourglass and the sand as your time. Right now, the sand only runs one way, down and out, and the only tool you've been given to refill the top is your own labour. You earn, you flip the glass by hand every week, forever. That's the cycle. Manual refills until your hands stop working. A properly funded portfolio is a machine bolted underneath that hourglass. It catches the sand at the bottom and quietly lifts it back to the top on its own. Your dividends buy back your Monday mornings. Your compounding buys back your Sunday arvo. And because a chunk of that machine is sitting inside the tax fortress of super, nobody's skimming sand off the top on the way back up. Outside super, the ATO's standing at the bottom of the glass with a cup. Though even there, Australia hands you two genuine advantages most countries don't. The 50% capital gains discount on assets you've held over 12 months and franking credits, which mean tax already paid by Aussie companies, gets credited straight back to you. Here's the bit that quietly moves your target every year. Inflation. Your number floats with the cost of living, and Australian costs haven't been gentle. What got you by a few years ago doesn't get you by today. That's exactly why tax-free income has become disproportionately powerful. Every dollar you shield from tax is worth more than it used to be. And most Australians are sitting on unclaimed room right now without knowing it. If your total super balance is under $500,000, you can carry forward up to 5 years of unused concessional contribution cap. That's contributions taxed at 15% instead of your marginal rate. The annual cap is $30,000. Miss it for a couple of years while you're paying off a HEX debt or saving a deposit, and that unused space doesn't vanish. It stacks up, waiting for the year you can afford to use it. $1.25 million in one account is a long climb, so let's lower the thrust requirement because you're not launching with a single engine, you're launching with several. Engine 1, the age pension. For someone eligible at 67, the current full single rate works out to a little over $31,000 a year, index for life, and it's not guaranteed for everyone chasing early freedom, but it's a genuine tailwind for a standard retirement. If your expenses are $50,000 and the pension covers part of that, your portfolio doesn't need to fund the whole number. Engine 2, super does the heavy lifting during your highest earning years because salary sacrificing at 15% tax is worth the most when your marginal rate is highest. Engine 3, a personal share portfolio outside super is your bridge, the account you can actually touch before 60, holding tax-efficient assets like fully franked Australian shares and long-held ETFs, benefiting from that 50% CGT discount. 3 engines, 1 trajectory. Here's what nobody says out loud. Financial freedom isn't a feeling. It's not a vibe you build or a mindset you adopt. Scrolling finance TikTok on the tram. It's a coordinate, a specific number, worked out from your specific expenses, multiplied by 25 and reduced by whatever engines you've already got running. For some of you, that number's $1.25 million. For others, once you factor in the pension and a paid-off house, it's a lot closer to $600,000. And the room to shelter a chunk of it from tax inside super right now, this financial year, is already sitting there, mostly unclaimed. The clock above your desk isn't stopping for anyone. It doesn't care how far away your number looks today. It only cares whether your balance sits above the line or below it. Go find your number, do the maths this week, not one day. And if this actually helped you see your own situation a bit clearer, do us a favour and smash that like button and hit subscribe. We're doing this every week. Thanks for watching, legends.